Hi everyone, just very quick before we get started. This is a pre-recorded video that I have announced in my Black Bay 58 video a couple of weeks ago, but I really wanted to come on here real quick and tell you all that I hope you stay healthy and safe, and please stay at home if you can. So now, without wasting any more time, let's jump right into the video. This is the Omega Speedmaster Apollo 8 Dark Side of the Moon. It is not only the ultimate Omega Speedmaster, but also possibly the perfect everyday watch. In this video, I'm going to show you this watch right down to the last detail, so let's get started. And first of all, I quickly want to say thank you to my good friend Harald, who made this review possible by letting me film his watch. So back in the day, Omega was the first one to manufacture a watch that would meet the demands of NASA. This made the Speedmaster the watch of Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins when they embarked on their Apollo 11 mission, which made the Speedmaster the first watch on the moon. But that's exactly what leads us to the first problem with the Speedmaster. I don't know about you, but I feel like Omega is really milking the first watch on the moon topic, and to me it feels like they are releasing a new Speedmaster every 5 weeks or so. To be honest, I've completely lost track of all the different Speedmasters, and I'm sure I'm not alone on this. But in this video, I want to tell you what exactly it is that is making this Apollo 8 Speedmaster so special and why. I'm going to show you every little incredible detail of this watch. I'm going to talk about the unique movement, how this watch wears on a day-to-day basis on different wrist sizes, and I also want to address the pricing and availability of the Apollo 8. And of course, telling you what makes this Apollo 8 the ultimate Speedmaster. Okay, so let's take a look at this watch. The Apollo 8 comes with a diameter of 44.25 millimeters, a lug-to-lug width of 49.7 millimeters, and a height of 40 millimeters. Those measurements make this Speedmaster a rather large watch, but the case design itself helps to conceal the actual case size. But we're going to talk about that a bit more in a minute. The first thing you will notice about the Apollo 8 is probably its color scheme. As the name Dark Side of the Moon gives it away, the dominating color is a deep black, but Omega has mixed in some strikingly yellow color accents. This daring design reminds me a little bit of the Speedmaster Racing Edition, even though this one is significantly smaller than the Apollo 8. What I really like is that Omega used very special tools in order to treat the ceramic that is used on the entire case of the watch. They managed to replicate the same polishing you can find on regular steel models. On top and on the sides, it is very finely brushed and completely polished on the edges. The black and yellow theme continues on the thick black leather strap with its yellow holes and stitching. Even the clasp is made from ceramic. And usually you get the Apollo 8 with a pin buckle, but the owner of this watch swapped it with a folding clasp, which makes it easier to put on or take off. And I don't know about you, but to me the folding clasp makes the Apollo 8 even more spacier than just a regular pin buckle. On the back of the Apollo 8 you can see the "We'll see you on the other side" engraving, which remembers the critical moment of the actual Apollo 8 mission. For the first time in 1986, Aldrin, Collins and Armstrong were the first humans on their Apollo 8 mission to try orbiting the moon. The radio contact abruptly stopped as soon as the 3 astronauts disappeared behind the moon. At that time, no one knew for sure what would happen and if they would ever be seen again. But we'll talk about that in a second. First, let's get back to the face of the watch and the incredible detail on it, which is definitely going to make you understand why this watch is so fascinating. The dial of the Apollo 8 is partially skeletonized, so you're able to see parts of the movement by just looking at the dial. But what is even more exciting is that the remaining parts of the dial plates are lasered. Like the astronauts themselves, you can look at the surface of the moon when looking at your Apollo 8, as Omega used extremely fine lasers to engrave the entire plate. Adding even more depth and dimension to the dial are the individually elevated hour markers, as well as the perfectly placed yellow color accents. Not only the Speedmaster lettering is yellow, but also the little pips at the end of each hour marker and the chronograph hand. Omega has left the standard hands in black and white, which I think is a great idea to visually separate the chronograph function from the standard time. But that is not it with the cool details. Another, and the pun here is fully intended, highlight ironically shows itself as soon as it gets dark. With this Speedmaster, you not only get your looms on the hands and hour markers, oh no, the tachymeter scale as well as the crown also light up in the dark, so you will be able to read the scale even when you and your space shuttle disappear behind the dark side of the moon. All in all, the dial of this Speedmaster has to be one of the most spectacular ones out there. I mean, no one really needs a wristwatch anymore to tell the time, but Omega Omega absolutely understood that in this day and age, you do not look at your watch solely for information, but to actually feel something. And looking at this style is just pure, awe-inspiring fun. And the fun does not stop at the dial. The movement inside the Apollo 8 is not just a technical addition to power the watch, it looks like it was also an additional canvas for Omega's design team. Turning the watch upside down, we see Omega's extremely robust caliber 1869, which resembles the 3-2-1 movement that was used at the moon mission. It beats with consistent 3 Hz, has a power reserve of 48 hours, as well as sporting a chronograph function with a vertical clutch whilst being powered by manually winding it. The movement itself is also very well made, especially when you consider that this watch retails below $10,000. The finishing on the bridges, as well as the placement of different parts like the screws and the beautifully contrasting rubies, create a stunning image that is completed by some more moon surface lasering. The Apollo 8 is the perfect example for creating a movement that is hard to look away from without putting in the abnormal amount we see other watchmakers do like Lange or Patek, while still keeping the price below $10,000. But like I said, this watch is not only to look at but also to wear. So how does this $9,750 piece from Omega wear on a daily basis? And this is where the ceramic comes into play. Ceramic is basically as scratch-proof as sapphire, which means that realistically, you'll have a very hard time trying to get scratches into this case. That makes such ceramic pieces extremely attractive for those who really love it when their watches stay in a pristine condition. As far as I'm concerned, you also do not have to worry about any chippings or flaking, or at least I haven't heard about any cases. The fact that the clasp is made from ceramic too is also great news for all of you desk divers out there. Just a little is the water resistance though. With only 50 meters, this Apollo 8 should only be your partner in crime when washing your hands. Everything else just might destroy it. And that being said, the water that has been found on the moon is frozen anyway, so I kind of forgive Omega for that water resistance. But after all, the Apollo 8 wears comfortably like a lightweight. At least that was what I have been told by almost everyone who got to wear this. Because with my 150mm, I have to say that the Apollo 8 is way too big. But if you really like this watch and your wrist size is above 170mm, you should definitely try it on and see this amazing design for yourself. Okay, so now that we know who this was made for, let's talk about prices and availability. Fortunately, this watch is not a limited edition, but it is still not as mass-produced as other models, so you probably will not see it in any window displays. At least that's the case here in Germany. But I'm sure in case you go up directly to your Omega AD and ask for that watch, you should not wait too long for it, and the grey market has models readily available as well. The watch itself is listed with a price of $9,750, but I'm sure there's a little bit of leeway if you ask nicely. So, now that we have taken a very close look at the watch, I think we can all agree that the Apollo 8 is not a boring watch. But as you can surely remember, I said that this watch is the ultimate Speedmaster, so let me tell you now why I think it deserves the title. First of all, there are some common well-known cons regarding Omega as well as the Speedmaster series in general, but mainly there are the following 3 issues most people seem to have. Firstly, with the classic Speedmaster Moonwatch, you get a watch that needs to be hand-wound, which wouldn't be a bad thing at all if it weren't for the crown that sits very tightly in between its crown guards, making it super uncomfortable and hard to wind. It's not the end of the world, but considering that you have to do that every other day, it can get really annoying. The second issue is how easily the Moonwatch shows scratches. Especially the clasp shows signs of wear very quickly compared to other sports steel watches like the Submariner. So keep in mind that not every steel watch is made the same. And by far the biggest issue with Omega, and especially with the Speedmaster series, is the sheer amount of different editions. It feels like Omega releases a new Speedmaster every other week, which definitely intensified since the 50-year moon landing anniversary happened last year. To me, it kind of dilutes the specialness of the entire Moonwatch story, and it kind of takes away from the once so iconic Speedmaster. But exactly this is where the Apollo 8 fixes all of the problems. Winding this watch feels super easy with much less resistance. The fact that they used ceramic on this one makes it virtually scratch-proof, even compared to 904L steel that Rolex uses. And the overall design and colors used to make the Apollo 8 even stand out within the dark side of the moon range. I'm sure that anyone who gets asked about how many different Speedmaster versions they know and who has seen the Apollo 8 before is definitely going to mention that one because of its outstanding look. The Apollo 8 Dark Side of the Moon is what most Speedmasters are not. Actually something special with a distinctive design, and all that combined for below 10,000 US dollars. I'm definitely lifting my hat for this one to Omega. Okay, so now you know why the Omega Speedmaster Apollo 8 Dark Side of the Moon is the ultimate Speedmaster. But now it's your turn. Do you agree with me on this one, or do you have a different Speedmaster in mind which is your favorite and what makes it so special to you? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm excited to read what you have to say, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.